Any questions this afternoon? Please.
Sometimes I feel like, sometimes I experience this kind of thoughts or even like body experiences, like pain somewhere, for example. And I feel like it's not really mine, it's not coming from me. And I've heard that, I forgot which Zen master said, I think it was Wukong Zen master that said that, when you sit with other people, you also take some of their karma, and vice versa, you give some of your karma to the other people. So how is that, first of all, how is that possible? And second of all, what should I do with it?
How is it possible? I don't know. But fortunately, Zen is based on don't know. So it isn't an inadequacy on your part that you don't know. And I gave a talk here, a couple of weeks ago? And I always think of this monk asking Unmun when suffering and death and all that crap comes, what can we do about it? And Unmun says, welcome. So all of those kinds of thoughts, maybe you have satisfying thoughts, like I did go to school. That's a satisfying thought. Or maybe you have an unsatisfying thought. I screwed up when I went to school. I can't even write my own bio. Right? So you have all these thoughts coming and going. But you definitely share something with them because you're sitting there in the same room. So from a Zen point of view, we would all say on some level, it manifests itself in many different ways. We're all here with this great question of life and death, right? Because nobody would choose to come here and sit around, and for about 5 minutes the room is interesting. And then, it's about looking inside. And you can't do it for anybody else, so you're there on your own initiative. Right? So that all has to do with direction. So yeah, you are like the other people around you, that's true, because there's some sharing of this notion of direction. So I wouldn't come here to pump up my ego. Some people do, I said a 90-day retreat. But that wears out after a while. So then it's about being together with other people. So we always call our practice together action practicing, right? So the Buddha didn't do that. In fact, we say ran away. He didn't actually run away, but he left to ultimately to sit under a tree by himself. But we don't do that style because ultimately he had to get up and act with other people around this whole issue of suffering. So we always call our practice together action practicing. And it's the worst kind you can imagine because you're there with other people, even those teachers you mentioned. So there you are. Right? So everything is based on this intent. So human beings as opposed to cats, as opposed to, what else is running around here? Birds. Those kind of things. We have intent. And intent is what we are. So the basis of any biography that you might be writing, hidden in there somewhere, should be, is your intent. So when you say you're a, what'd you say? You said you were a bhikkhuni.
Yeah.
Yeah. So behind the notion of being a bhikkhuni, the most important part is intent. You didn't become a bhikkhuni to make money, right? You didn't become a bhikkhuni to prove to your mother, oh, you're an orphan, to prove to everybody that you knew when you were young that you're a great person. Although you might, but it doesn't last very long, hopefully. So it's always about intent is what you are. So when we come to a retreat like this, we practice with other people so that our intent becomes clear. So the Buddha realized that he didn't get anything when he got enlightenment, right? So if you're getting enlightenment for you, you've already failed. Because that your intent is completely not this, interacting with other people in a way that helps them. Right? So we're always doing together action practicing because it's not about us. So that's interesting. Most people don't think about Zen that way. They think about Zen as like running off somewhere and sitting under a tree and I'm going to get enlightenment or something, blah, 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 blah. But that doesn't last long. So then you're left with sitting in a room with other people and you're looking around and you wonder, what the heck am I doing here? So that's why intent has to be so clear. In fact, everything is about intent. And that's where the Buddha screwed up. You know, he got enlightenment, then a god had to come down from heaven and tell him what his real job was, which was to get up and help people. So what that is doing is clarifying his intent. Right? It's not about you, because philosophically you could say, there is no you. He should have said, I can't write a biography because I'm nothing. But of course they wouldn't like that. So we make something up to encourage people to look inside and find their true self. So yeah, you have very good karma, by the way. So whether you have good karma or bad karma, maybe you have bad karma, you know, like your body is crap and your brain is all screwed up or something. But what you want to do is have a clear intent. So when you do what you do, moment to moment to moment, it becomes clear. It's not based on how healthy you are, how many PhDs you have, or any of that kind of stuff. It's based on this very simple thing: how may I help you? So that's Zen. Find your true self and help the world. And the most you don't believe this, but the most expedient mean for doing that, ways of doing that, is doing this together action practicing. So when you're learning the Moktak and somebody's teaching you how to hold it, they're teaching you how to do this together action thing. And that will help you and everybody else realize what they really are. So you want to get away, I don't know, maybe you want to get away from the Russians, or maybe you want to get away from the Americans, or I really want to get away from the Poles, I know. So, but that's not what we're here for. We're here to realize what those things really are and then help those people. So it's not about escaping to a good situation. In fact, we artificially create a bad situation, right? Because then Master Sungsang taught that a good situation is a bad situation is a good situation. So if you look at that on the surface, that doesn't make any sense, right? But you have to see what the behind intention is. So the problem with a good situation is, one, you start thinking there is a you and you think you have a good situation. Or you become lazy, which is a form of the same thing. The reason you get lazy is because you have a good situation and you're getting something from it, right? So you subconsciously, is that a word? Yeah, subconsciously you think, oh, this is great. Soon I'll become a bhikkhuni and then everything will be cool. Right? But that's not the intent of becoming a bhikkhuni. So the fact that you're in this situation, that's your practice. So your practice is this togetherness in this moment. What do? So his back hurts, so he puts his legs up. And he's bored, so he's trying to stay awake by holding his head up. Right? So we're always in some kind of situation, and we have a job, moment to moment to moment to moment to moment. And that is to let go and help. And that's it. It's not complicated. You don't have to have a PhD to do this.
It's not complicated, but you say intent a lot. What about, I'm sure Hitler has had good intentions in his mind. What's the difference between Hitler and you?
Yeah. Well, we're both German. Yeah, the clarity of it. And everything is about suffering. In Buddhism, everything is about suffering and taking away suffering. So I imagine there in the old bunker, just as he was going to shoot himself in the head, just after he married, what's her name? He realized, well, this isn't working out very well. I don't imagine he felt very good about it, but that's just a theory. So it's all about this great vow, helping people in this moment. So when you become a bhikkhuni, it's about taking this great vow. Sentient beings are numberless, we vow to save them all. So, you can twist that around any way you want to. I mean, the mind is clever. You're smart. I'm smart. He's smart. Well, he's really smart. So, what happens is, it's about how clear you are, right? And behind this wanting to be clear is this intention to help the world. It sounds kind of abstract, right? When you listen to the Four Great Vows or when you take precepts or something. All those things are fairly abstract, but you know that everyday life, like a couple of weeks ago I hit you, right? Okay, so some people like that and some people don't like that. And I don't care one way or the other about it. I just like to hit people. No, that's not true.
It's okay. I like hitting people as well.
Right? But it's a Buddhist technique. But a lot of people don't like that technique, right? So when Linchi goes to Wangpo, it isn't just, hey. He beats him with a stick 3 different times. I think it said he hits him 50 times, right? But he's really hitting him with a stick. And then Linchi decided, I'm going to go somewhere else. Well, good idea. Then he leaves, right? And then a little while later, he realizes what was going on and he comes back. So, again, it's the intent, right? So if I go, I don't have a Zen stick, but if I go around hitting people with a Zen stick, because I really like to hit people, right? So that's how you would evaluate that. But if I was hitting people to wake them up, well, you might, that's not the best technique, but at least you had a clear intention, right? So that's why we're so concerned. And why a lot of the talk that we do with people is we're always trying to figure out their intent. So you look at their eyes, you smell them, you hear them, all kinds of things. And it's almost always based on trying to figure out their intent. Are they really going to kill me, or am I going to get out of this bar alive, right? So that's going on all the time. So that's why you want to make your intent clear. And we do that by practicing with other people. It's not special, and ultimately, I'm sure the Buddha did it later, but when he's sitting underneath the tree, you can see yourself. But that doesn't necessarily increase your wisdom. Your wisdom comes out of these bad experiences that you have with other people. And you're one of those people. So, there's nothing special going on here. The Buddha's not a special person. He's just one that ultimately has a clear intent and is clear about it. So that's why we come to do together action practicing. It's not to get anything. It's to have experiences and and realize what this is really. I don't know, that's all I know to say about it abstractly. Then it happens on a very primitive level, everything else.
So how about the solo retreat?
How about what?
Solo retreat.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it has to be, you have to do it with a clear intent. So it's just another technique. So it lacks things too. Right. So anytime you join in a situation, that situation has particular characteristics. Solo retreat, you're alone, hopefully. So these are called expedient means, and they have different styles, and people interact with them differently. And none of them are special. They're just expedient. So we do together bows. There's nothing special about that. It's kind of hard to do because some people want to bow really fast. Like I'm a really fast bower, so I'm always slowing down. I don't know, can you see me doing that? I bow really fast, and I always have. So, but during the 108 bows, I can't bow at my speed. I have to bow at our speed. So I'm always slowing down. And other people can't do that, so they do every other bow or something, right? So that's it. You're just doing this thing with a certain intent in this situation, and you experience it. Mostly I see the women during bowing, because I can't see the monks or the nuns on the side. I can just see everybody that's on the other side of the room, So that's how I know kind of what's going on. I guess if I turned my head and actually looked, I could see. But it really doesn't make any difference. It's a together action practicing. So our practice is this together action practicing because it increases your wisdom. Unfortunately, although it's just a style, a solo retreat, the problem with it is that it doesn't increase your wisdom as much. But it's not designed not to do that. It's a special kind of style of practicing. But ultimately, those styles all have the same intent to help you realize your true self and teach you about helping other people. What I like about Zen is it's so stupid. You don't have to sit around doing any deep thinking or anything else. When you eat, just eat. When you sleep, just sleep. When you're sitting, just sit. Yes.
So I have a question about this intent.
Yeah.
Somebody told me that it's fairly easy to become a monk, but it's quite difficult to remain one. So the same question with the intent, like we have intent at the beginning of our practice, like saving beings and become a good person. sometimes it wears off, sometimes it just kind of disappear, whatever. How do you make this intent fresh? How do you make it stronger?
Yeah, you wake up in this moment, so it's always right now. So I can't be a monk in the past, and I can't be a monk in the future. I can only be a monk right here, right now. Right? So if you make this moment, everything in life is about making this moment clear. So, I don't know. People get pulled off by their idea, they're attached to some other kind of idea. So, we talk about it as the strength of our intent, right? But people have been monks and they stop being monks or nuns or whatever, and they can still keep a strong intent about helping the world. I know ex-monks and ex-nuns that are still help the world. That's what ultimately what it's about. So it's just a particular, being a monk or a nun is just a particular style. There's nothing special about it, as you probably found out after 10 years or 20 years. So if you became a monk or a nun because you liked the clothes, well, that isn't going to last long. Maybe you like the haircuts. I don't know. Yeah. Maybe you like getting rid of your lay name and you get to use a really cool monastic name.
Can you talk about boredom? How do you...
It's the main technique. Yeah, all of this is actually designed to be boring. And if you haven't noticed yet, it is. Because there's nothing interesting going on. So that's our main technique. So think about Buddha leaving home for 6 years and then sitting underneath the tree. I don't know, how long did he sit underneath the tree? For a week or something? I don't know. Even a week is pretty boring. So it's just not very exciting. In fact, it's designed not to be exciting. It's kind of like drinking water when you want to be drinking soju or something. So you do that so that boredom allows you to let go of your attachments, actually. So here, the food is quite interesting during this retreat, to my mind. But I have sat in retreats in Korea on the other side of this mountain here over at Shinwonsa, where we had mung bean sprout soup every meal, never changed. So I don't know if you like white rice and mung bean sprout soup, but after, 3 times 70, that would be 270 meals eating the same thing right in a row. Boy, that is really boring. But it was really good. Because that's what it's intended to do. So you're always playing with how interesting it is and how boring it is. So the intent of practice styles and forms is to make it boring. So this, relatively speaking, this style of retreat is pretty interesting. You could definitely make it more boring. You want to know how? Stop talking. You could fall asleep right away. So there's, in Buddhism, we're playing with the forms to make it more boring, not more interesting. And then this forces you to look inside. That's the intent of it, right? Because when you're bored, well, nothing's drawing you out, so you just kind of naturally go in, right? And nothing probably bores you more than your own thinking, if you experience what I experience. Who's the most boring person in the world? Well, that happens to be you, if you look closely. So we're always looking for something, right? So the idea of a retreat is you cut off that, what you're reaching out for. Always, it's really cool when you leave a retreat, because if you watch really closely, you get to see what you want. It'll appear real strong, because that's the first thing you'll grab for when you leave a retreat. So anyway, those are all just techniques to allow you to see yourself. That's all. They're not special, and they're designed that way. So, like when the Buddha leaves home, he's leaving all of his stuff. But he goes too far, right? So he's living with these 5 ascetics. So ascetics take away stuff too. But it's not very clear what the intent about taking this stuff away is. So he goes way overboard, right? Particularly with food and stuff. So he's not eating, he's not anything, but then he almost dies, so he knows, well, I've gone too far. So this woman by a river there in northern India hands him some, fermented milk or something, I forget. Or some kind of sweet milk drink or something. He drinks that, he's like, oh, good, oh. Well, yeah, you gotta eat, or you're gonna die. So, it's always drawing that kind of balance. So this retreat, although we didn't decide, somebody decided, I don't know, maybe Tom Walson decided, you have this and you have that, and then it's designed to make your regular life stand out so you can see what you really are. So that's why it's called, what did you say it was called? Leaving what? Leaving home?
Yeah, family, leaving home.
Leaving what?
Yeah, home, leaving home.
Yeah, leaving home. But that's a metaphor, because it's not about leaving home, because I live there. So leaving home means like leaving the comfort of your own set of ideas. Right? So your home, you make your home in your like and dislike mind. So it wants to make your likes and dislikes stand out, so that you can see them clearly. Because usually we're so comfortable with them, we hardly even know that they exist. Right? And then you come here and you think, I really don't like bean sprout soup. And then you get to see that, because, did we have bean sprout soup? Yeah, well, we will. I just planted the idea in her mind. And then you'll get to see how that works out. What's it called? Kung
Namos.
Guk or something?
Kung Namal Kuk.
Yeah. I hate it, but it's my favorite soup. So that kind of stuff is always, Buddhism is manipulating all those kinds of things so that like Zen Master Sung Sung ate dried pine needles for 100 days. Well, that's a big mistake. Right? We're very lucky to actually have him alive. I went to the doctor one time that treated him, Chinese, a Korean guy who was a Chinese doctor, who treated him and kept him alive after he came out of that retreat. But that's a bad idea. So that's just like what the Buddha did. The Buddha went too far and the girl handed him a yogurt drink or whatever it was. Yeah. So it's all about not too much of this, not too much of that. So that's what you want to do. You can try going too far. It's great. Any other questions? Yes?
Last time you talked about that, like a lot of time we think we are not there, but we are there. Like a lot of time we think we are not there, but we are there. And I mean, it's like kind of like
What?
a lot of time, like when I sit in meditations, I think I'm not there, but I'm there. And then it's like, what kind of things that you do to ensure that you are not there?
Yeah, in this case, dead means attached to something. So usually we think that life is through satisfying attachments, but actually it's death. So in Buddhism, that means what dead and not dead means.
Oh no, I mean the there, T-H-E-R-E. There.
Oh, there! Yeah, you don't want to be there dead, you want to be there alive. There dead is called a cemetery. There alive is called a sunpong. So what's your question?
I mean, it's like, how you ensure that you are not, I mean, it's like, you are not attached to anything.
What?
How to be sure you are not attached to anything?
You're attached to being sure that you're not attached. Yeah, it's before that.
Yeah, then how you go before?
Well, me saying it's before that was a mistake. So what isn't a mistake? Only that?
Voice zero.
Oh, good. Yeah, so it's just about being in this moment. That's called moment mind, or what Zen Master Musangsa called moment world. We live in moment world, and you just want to be clear. That's all you can say about it, because you don't know what it's going to be or what it's going to change into in the next moment, right? So you just don't know. Like you might be a nun in Falanitsan, and then a week later you're a nun living in Sopa. You don't know. But if I was living in Sopat, I would move to Gdansk myself. Although Gdynia is nice. I had my billfold stolen in Gdynia one time. That was great. Oh, those are all cities in Poland, sorry. Yeah, it's about waking, all it is waking up in this moment and helping. So that's vow, that's original mind, it's everything. It's what you are. But everybody wants something else. So that's what creates suffering. The I, my, me part, the I want something. Any other questions? That was about as clear as mud. Yes.
You just said, right before this question about how Master Sun went too far and Buddha went too far in their practice.
Yeah.
And on one hand, I understand that when you say, middle way and stuff, but like, if Master Sun hadn't done that crazy 100-day Soto retreat going too far, in theory, he might not have gotten enlightenment.
I don't know.
I'm just saying, like, we always talk about, come back middle way, not middle way, but like, we read all the stories about the Zen Master and the Buddhas, they went pretty far. And
Well, they did.
Don't go that far.
Yeah, they did something. So yeah, it's an expression of intent. It's just a bad expression of intent. Yeah.
kind of seems like, maybe it's kind of worth it, do that 100-day crazy soda retreat, but then you get enlightenment. I mean,
Yeah, well, you get the wisdom about that from the experiences you have. So, yeah. If I just float on a cloud up in Buddhist heaven, so what? Right? So when you practice, you will suffer. And that suffering comes from your desires not being satisfied, or maybe they are being satisfied because you want to punish yourself or something. But it's about waking up in this moment, then that is what we call enlightenment. That's just a name, though. There is no enlightenment. So you can forget that one. So it's just about, wake up just now. But hopefully you'd have the wisdom not to eat dried pine needles for 100 days straight. Yeah. So there's many of those kinds of things like that. What about all the monks and nuns that have died doing retreats and you don't even know because they're dead? So that's why you want your intent to be clear, Retreat isn't to punish you, it's to wake up. That's what I like about the Wei Nung, the sixth patriarch. He's just delivering some wood to a shop, walks out, here's one line, boom, gets enlightenment, right? So that's to balance out the story of whoever, Bodhidharma sitting in a cave or something. Those are different kind of stories. So since they're talking, people will attach to what's being said, which is not the object of the talk, right? So it'll do all kinds of different kinds of things to wake people up. We just happen to get a particular bag of things because we're in this Korean tradition, which is mostly like Rinzai, Lin Chi style Zen. And it's not so much like Soto style. But that's just the way it is. So you have the karma to go towards that. That makes sense? Any other question? Yes, please.
It's a little bit in the outside world, maybe, but a lot of people are getting. I feel a lot of people are getting narrow in their views, and see. Also about among the 10 precepts about not speaking ill of others, and right before coming to this retreat, I was very excitedly writing something. I actually came 15 minutes late for this retreat because in order to speak ill of someone, not necessarily someone, but something was going wrong, involved someone, and he was making a lot of suffering for other people, so that he can be a little bit, take a higher position, and a lot of money being wasted, a lot of people's efforts were being wasted, and he was like lying to everybody, so that people will make wrong decisions. So I had to speak ill of that person in order to
to help. Yeah. That's okay.
And I was like, am I doing this right? But I was so excited. I was speaking so good. if the intent is okay, then
Yeah, right. It's about the intent. Maybe you have to kill somebody. I don't know. Why would you have to kill somebody? Let's see. Somebody's going to drop poison in the water supply, and they're standing over and ready to drop it. And you're running down the path with a gun, and you can't get to them before they drop the poison in the water supply, so you shoot them. Or something, I don't know. You all are probably better at thinking of situations, but yeah, it's all about the intent. So you don't intend to kill the guy dropping the poison in the water supply. Your intent is to help save everybody else from being poisoned. Right? So it's all about the intent, not. But we do say don't do, like, don't kill, don't lie, don't steal, don't blah, blah, blah. Yeah. But again, behind is always the intent to help. Well, that's, we've sat here enough.
My niece said this.
Yeah, I understand. Yes.
What if it's a good guy who wanna poison bad guys?
What?
What if it's a good guy who wanna poison bad guys and you don't know, you cannot see the situation, you know?
Yeah, well, you can make up any situation you want. Still behind is, what's the real intent? So you might accidentally do something because you misunderstood the situation, right? Meaning you made a mistake. And the thing is, as soon as you realize that, you change. That's all. That's all you can do. What else are you going to do? Like even Jesus, what did Jesus do? Oh, he cursed a fig tree. Okay, so why did he curse a fig tree? Does anybody know? Yeah, Jesus. Jesus was Jewish. So I don't know why he cursed the fig tree. And neither does anybody else, but the story is in the Bible. So, but what you would question is the intent. Like, oh, why is he cursing a fig tree, for God's sakes? Yep, there you go. So that's why you always want to be aware as much as possible. This is why we practice, so to make your intent clear, so you don't injure whatever. But you have to eat. So every time you eat that rice, you've killed a lot of rice plant babies, right? By eating that rice. So that's why you want to make sure what you're doing has a clear direction. Okay, that's all I know. Well, thank you for coming and practicing. And just do it. When you just do it, you actually get it. But if you're attached to some idea about why you're doing it or what's happening or something, then that's where you shoot the wrong guy. But if you just do it, then it's clear because your like and dislike mind isn't controlling what's going on. Your great vow mind is controlling what's going on, which hopefully has a good result. Okay? So thank you for coming and practicing, and just do it, then you get it. Thinking, you get a headache, right? We've all had that. Thank you.